Today's reflection I want to call The Message Didn't Change, but I Did. I remember someone asking me a question many years ago. We were sitting by the lake and I was talking about how my back is hurting and took pride in not, addressing the backache. And she stopped and asked me, Daph, do you love yourself? I was probably in my early 30s at that time. And I remember thinking, what kind of question is that? Love myself? What does that even mean? I wasn't offended. I wasn't defensive either. I was just genuinely confused. And the question felt strange, almost like unnecessary. And if I'm honest, I dismissed it completely. At that point in my life, did not have much interest in the question. I certainly wasn't going to lose sleep over it either. And I got on with life. Work, marriage, children, responsibilities, the ordinary things. And then life did what life often does. It continued teaching. Slowly, patiently, one experience at a time. And somewhere over the next decade, that same question came back, not because someone asked me that question again, but because life kept placing me in situations where I had no choice but to wrestle with it. And today, I could probably spend hours talking about what it means to love yourself. Not perfectly, not completely, but honestly. The question hadn't changed, you realize. Only I have. And the more I think about it, the more I realize how often that happens. There are things we hear for years before we understand them. Not because we are dumb or we're not listening, but because life hasn't yet given us the experience required to make sense of them. Take this one for example. You don't control other people. I had heard that before many times. Probably nodded along, agreed with it, thought it sounded wise. But being married for 19 years and raising kids taught me something words never could. People are different, their contexts are different, their needs are different, their wiring is different. They don't see what I see, they don't want what I want, or need what I need, or even learn when I learn. And that became impossible to ignore because when you genuinely love people, you often want the best for them. The problem is that what you believe is best is not always what they believe is best for them. And then eventually life teaches you a humbling lesson. Love does not give you ownership of another person's journey, only the privilege of walking beside them. You see, the sentence never changed. You can't control other people. And I just stopped agreeing with it. I just started understanding it better. Then there is this another sentence that I recall. Trust the process. Now, this one used to annoy me because for years I wanted to move abroad, to run away from my realities, and so many opportunities went to the end of becoming real. Paperwork done, tickets were even booked, and the future was already playing in my head. And then it fell apart again and again and again. Each time I was devastated. At that time, if someone had told me to trust the process, I would have happily offered them my process. Because what process? The one that kept disappointing me. The one closing doors and that I wanted desperately open. But years later, when I look back, something feels very different. Because who I have become now matters more than where I thought I was going. And sometimes, standing where I am today, I feel an enormous sense of gratitude. Not because everything worked out exactly as planned, but because life knew something I didn't. And now I understand trust so differently, not as certainty or as guarantees, but as harmony with timing. What is meant for me will be in its time. Again, the message didn't change. I did. The same thing happened with the idea, I'm okay, people are okay. Most people, when I coach them and they hear this, they understand I'm okay. But they struggle with people are okay. That takes longer because it asks us to trust that people are learning their lessons, living their stories, doing their best of how they know to do or be. Because nobody wakes up thinking, I want to just mess up today, right? So people are okay. But it takes a long time for people to get that. And this thing, right? I have said this in several other logs. Everything is okay. Not everything is good. Not everything is easy. Not everything is happening according to the plan. But everything is okay in the sense that the story is unfinished. This day is not the whole story, and this moment is not the whole book. And perhaps some things only make sense after a few more pages have been written. And when life finally hands us the experience needed to understand it, something clicks and we say, oof, finally, life has shown me what those words were trying to say. That's why the same message can be heard 100 times and only understood once. Because understanding isn't something we do. It's something we become ready for. And that's the question I want to leave you with today. The question is, what is the lesson life keeps repeating to you right now? The one that you keep hearing from different people, through different situations, through different chapters of your life. Maybe you already know the words. Maybe you can even say them aloud right now because it's been there for so long. But what if life is still preparing you to understand them? And what if the lesson isn't even late? What if it's arriving exactly when you're ready to receive it? So think about it. What is the lesson life keeps repeating to you right now?